words make things like I want to say he's one of the ones that came up with death tax, like the death tax that Democrats would propose, like put death on it. And that just makes it sound bad. Like he did stuff like that. They need someone like that can help them with their messaging.
We do the exact opposite. You don't even have to have the right words. Yes. Just stop saying the wrong words.
Defund police.
What up? It's your boy Ferg. Join my co-host Buff and Rozzy. Fellas, tell them what's on your mind. I think I already know.
Yeah, we know why we here. we all know why we here. The only thing on my mind is, so we're recording on Wednesday, the day after the election, and it's funny in a way because I remember us thinking it'll probably take a week or two before we really know who won. And I think we was basing that off 2020. Like that took I think Nevada took like
to
2
Saturday.
weeks. Damn near.
Yeah.
It felt long. Yes, I think you're right. Maybe Saturday. But I'm mad at myself because I remember the question I asked, and I remember as I asked it, my answer was Trump. And then as Razio was, Ferg went first. And then as Razio was answering, like whenever I ask a question, I'm always thinking, especially if I'm not sure what my answer is, I'm always like trying to finally think it out. And I went with my heart. I went with my heart and my hope. And I was like, you know what? As I said on the show, I thought maybe this country wasn't gonna gleefully vote for her, but they were ready to turn the page on Trump. They were ready to turn the page on the chaos that we experienced during his last administration. And it would have been not so much a vote for Kamala, but more so a vote of, it's time for us to take back the Republican Party. Let's get back to some normalcy. So let's get him out of here. We'll hold our nose and vote for her. And come 2028, it'll be a clean slate. But now, man, I'm not sure exactly how the show gonna go, but I suspect we'll get into the exact reasons why we think she lost. But I'll just end with this. The only thing that surprised me, because obviously I knew she could lose, and I knew there was a good chance she could lose. I think, as we were talking before the show, the margin is what shocked me.
Yeah.
Because I purposely didn't watch any political coverage on Tuesday. I watched zero political. Like, the only inklings I got was like reading some of y'all text messages, and sometimes people would post something on Twitter. But I woke up this morning and I saw the results. I was like, damn, she didn't get any of the swing states? Not Michigan, not Pennsylvania, like none of them?
Nope.
And I did see, Rozzy, when you said they had called Florida for him, I was like, damn, there go my little wild prediction. Florida me. So not only did she not have a chance at Florida, she ain't have a chance at the nation.
Right.
Like the entire nation rejected her. So I'm just shocked at the margin. It was as George W. Bush once said during the midterms of his presidency, that was a thumping. She got thumped.
Yep. And it was all voter turnout.
I'll have more depending on how the show goes.
Yeah, and we'll get into it. Like you said, I definitely want to get into why we think she lost. But, for me, it was Trump had basically the same amount of voters as he had last time. So that ultimately tells you that it was they couldn't get people out to vote there. So only things I got, man, to not talk about politics before we jump into politics is I want to go to Singapore because the McDonald's in Singapore has they serve chicken and they have a mala chicken that looks freaking delicious. And I don't know if y'all remember when they had the spicy wings at McDonald's. It used to be great. I don't know why they stopped selling them. They need to bring them back. But I want to go to Singapore just for this mala chicken because it looks delicious. Bird,
what's your definition of great?
What? The little wings? They were like crispy. They were meaty. They had a good spice and kick to them. They were really good little like wings.
Decent?
Okay, all right. Yeah, maybe they were decent. I'll give you that. They were decent. They were. If you're at McDonald's and you want some wings, then they were decent. You could go to McDonald's and get some wings and not feel like you got shorted. And they were cheap. They were cheaper than getting like actual wings. They were actual wings. So, but wings from like Wing Zone or Wingstop or something like that. Buffalo Wild Wings, any of those. But yeah, just some little wings. Fried wings. Yeah, they were good. Whatever. All right. Other things. If you're looking at, we were talking about Beetlejuice, but Wednesday. So Jenna Ortega plays Lydia's daughter in Beetlejuice. She also plays Wednesday. Wednesday is coming back to Netflix November 23rd. So kind of excited about that one. And then finally, if you guys both mentioned Twitter or X, they are changing their terms of service to let all your tweets build and build a model for AI. And so if you agree to the terms of service, if you're on X, just know that you are training an AI when you tweet and interact and those types of things. I don't know if you can turn it off. You can probably go into your settings and see, but I just want to make sure everybody knows that that is one of the things that they changed the terms of service. So all of your information that you have on Twitter or AKA X, it's training this model, and they're using your data. So just want everybody to know that.
Me, I'll be more personal. I've been spending today trying to protect my peace. I noticed that I'm not over it yet. I was out running errands and I saw a Trump 2024 shirt and I was instantly triggered. And I guess if you're person one, you have the right to celebrate. It just feels different, so I was joking. I saw somebody that they were just mad at the world, and they were going to be mad at the world for 24 hours. So any happiness they were frowning upon. So they said they got upset with the person at Chick-fil-A that told them to have a wonderful day or something like that. It was like, what's wonderful about today? So I'm not as bad as them. I figured that I'm going to be upset. I think I was telling you, Razi, I'm upset based off the numbers. So considering that, what was it? 60% of white men voted for Trump. So I'm only upset with 60% of white men. So 6 out of 10 white men got me upset right now. So
that means 2 out of 10 black men got you upset too, right? You got 20% of the black male vote.
Yep. So when I see 2 out of 10 black men, I'm looking I'm looking at your side eye. 1 out of 10 black women. But I joke about that just because, and I guess I'll kind of close with it. I'll talk about it when we're closing, is not to let the media or social media get us fighting with each other. We were the only group that overwhelmingly supported Kamala as a whole. We're saying 78, almost 80% of black men and 92% of black women polled voted for Trump. So that's 8 out of 10 and 9 out of 10. Don't make this a black man versus white man. White woman. Black woman versus black man thing. We both did what we were supposed to do. So the numbers don't lie. But there's a whole nother conversation behind that. So outside of that, it was just different. Waking up this morning, I kind of was like you, Buff. I went to sleep not knowing the results, and figured that the way the polls were coming in, I figured that we would have results in the morning. And I just knew I would sleep better not knowing. I felt like if I would have stayed up watching, I would have been pissed all of last night and wouldn't have been able to sleep as well. So I woke up a couple of times, almost checked my phone, but I just went to sleep. Straight, went back to sleep. So, did you guys have to talk to your kids or anything about it this morning?
I did. Yeah. Okay. I told him what happened. Yeah. So it was funny. I told Oliver, and he was like, "Oh man," and I was like, "But don't worry. I mean, it really isn't going to affect you much. It's not that big of a deal for you." He's like, "Yeah, not for me because I don't really need help, but for people who need help, it's a big deal." And for my fourth grader to understand that is really what's so disheartening, right? My fourth grader understands that it's not about what affects me. It's about what affects the masses or people that look like us. It's the least of us, as they say in the Bible, right? Like it's the folks that really need help. They're not going to be able to get it because of the platforms. And he understands that. And for 52% of America, they don't care.
But isn't this the same Bible that 52% of Americans are reading too? Why do we hold on to the help everybody, we all should get along, can we all just get along versus?
Well, for me, it's not so much about the Bible. It's just being a decent human being.
Right. Not being selfish, about community. I mean, we're social animals, right? Like community is what brought us out of the Stone Age. Being able to interact with each other and help each other out. If we didn't have that, then we would have still been like little pack animals. So it's just that, man, like civilization was created by us helping each other. And I don't know where the U.S. I do know where it went wrong. It went wrong when everybody that was non-white started wanting a little piece of that community. That's where it went wrong. That's where the U.S. said, nope, we don't like that. That's why we ended up after the Civil War. That's how we ended up with Jim Crow. That's how we ended up having to try to get civil rights. That's how we ended up with all the things that we've been trying to fight for over the time, is that we're trying to wrestle a little bit of power, a little bit of respect, and that I say we as in not just black people. It's minorities, it's oppressed groups, it's anybody that's not the majority. It's just trying to get a little bit of respect so that they can actually live in peace, and try to get a leg up, especially when we talk about descendants of slaves, right? Like descendants of slaves built this country and didn't get generational wealth and haven't been able to start producing generational wealth for less than 50 years. If you really think about it, it's been right at 50 years, I think, or 60 years where we've been able to say we're going to start producing generational wealth in large quantities, right? There was always pockets that was there, but even with those folks that were creating that generational wealth, it was really restricted. And so we every time we got these communities, we talk about Rosewood, we talk about all this, and every time we were able to create some generational wealth, it was burned. We were massacred. They'd redline it and then destroy those communities. They'd start, put a highway or a train right through the freaking community and eminent domain us, push us out, those types of things. So it's been systemic for ages, and folks are trying to get a little bit of dignity and keep their dignity. And I think Van Jones talked about it when Trump won the first time, the white lash, right, from Obama. I think it's still a little bit of that, and folks don't want their power. They don't want to lose their power, and so I'm sorry. Let me get off my soapbox. I'll hold off. But yeah, I'm sounding like Van Jones now. I'm disheartened, man.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack. I'm pretty sure we will all be getting on soapboxes or whatever over the course of this show. But is Sophie still up? Let's go ahead and jump into her, because I'm hoping she has a good joke, because I need a laugh.
Yeah, let's see.
As a small business owner, my favorite thing about posting a job on LinkedIn is that when I hit post, I clock out and LinkedIn clocks in.
LinkedIn makes it easy to post your job for free, get qualified candidates, and manage them all in one place. Plus, LinkedIn extends the reach of your job post by allowing you to share it with your network. And hiring managers that add a hiring frame to their LinkedIn profiles receive 2 times more qualified applicants. Go to linkedin.com/achieve to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss. Oof, like wind in your hair carefree. Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree. Yes! Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree. He's on a roll now. Spit toothpaste on the faucet. You got it. You got it. Peanut butter on the light switch. Oh, spritz, spritz. Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good. Okay, we're back. Use as directed.
Hello.
Hello, Sophia. How are you doing?
Hello.
Greetings.
I'm doing very good.
You know you were on Facebook.
Huh?
Buff put your joke on Facebook, or your failed joke. He didn't even say the second joke. He didn't even put that one on there. He only put the failed joke on there.
I'm offended.
I don't think it was a failed joke, and I don't think we just missed the joke.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was funny
your part.
because
I
you were
did
talking.
great.
This last week was Red Ribbon Week at TJ and Skylar's school.
Yeah.
And so one of the things they asked them to do is wear Army fatigues. So when you brought up fatigues, I thought it was related to Red Ribbon Week. I'm like, oh, that must be a thing. And you're like, no, it was a joke. I'm like, oh, so I don't know why you would tell me about fatigues like I'm in your wardrobe. I should have known it was a joke. But
All right, let's get it.
What do cows do on date night?
movie
Go
night?
to movies.
Watch movies?
Yeah.
He got it.
I got it.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah, buddy.
There was 0 failure.
You said it like
I'm a failure
as
because
first
I got
started
your
saying
joke.
it. You did it. What? Why don't you put it on the right side? Anyway, go. Bye. Love
He's
you.
kicking me out. I'm so.
She's so dramatic. It's so bad. I had to get on her. She's been slacking in debate, so I was like, she hadn't finished her debate slides, and she called me on Monday and was like she had a headache, and I was like, okay, so I went and got her, and then I got there and I walked in to pick her up, and she's laughing and joking with her friends and stuff like that. I was like, oh no, you're gonna stay and actually do this and get your slides together. Don't be trying to do the cough, I'm sick. So, she's at that age now. She's trying to play it up. I know we've all done it though, so can't be too mad.
I was a stellar student who was by the book. So if there was work to be done, better believe I was going to get it done, sir.
If you say so.
Yeah. So, Buff, I think we owe you
a question. I'm going to do something different today, but before I do, to the listeners out there, make sure you subscribe. Three Brothers No Sense. We're on all podcast platforms. Also, check us out on the Inspire You On Air app via Contentville every Monday night at, correct me on the time, Razi, 8. Is it 8 Central?
Yep,
now?
8 Central. Yep.
Yeah, 8 Central. So check us out on there as well. So I'm gonna let you guys pick the question out of these 3. Pick the question that you wanna answer out of these 3, and we're going back to the election, which was last night, and the 3 questions that I want you to pick from, and you can pick one to answer, is 1, what went wrong? 2, what's next for the Democratic Party? Or this one, does Biden have a legitimate gripe?
Let's
What went wrong? What's next? And does Biden have a legitimate gripe? Pick one of those to answer and expound upon.
I say let's answer all three. And go ahead, Fert. What?
All three. Okay.
What were you gonna say, Fert?
I don't think it's a long answer. I think they're all wrapped into one.
Okay.
I'll start. And I think what went wrong is Democrats, when it comes to the presidential election, are playing politics for current day America. Trump ran 3 times. He won 2 times. Do you see a common denominator in his winning?
He kept the same message. I know that's for sure.
America, and I was telling Razi this, I feel like America, as liberal and progressive as we say we are, we're still who we are. We're a patriarchal society that supports white male leadership. If a white male had all the credentials that Kamala had, Cam would be the president of the United States today. I really feel like we are not ready to accept anything outside of a white man, heterosexual white man. I think we try to play politics based off of what we think the country wants, what we think we're ready for. When you see this many people voting against their own best self-interest, it shows that there's a common denominator. They want the biggest thing in the conservative world is white male leadership. Biden, who to me, even though he was a vice president, was probably the least interesting of the candidates. I feel like he had the least amount of energy, least amount of support when it came to just getting people galvanized. But at the same time, he was an old white man. And we can't keep playing, the Democrats, I'm not going to say we anymore. I'm over that. They can't keep playing politics on like, you know what? This is what's right for the country. I was telling Razi, it's like bingo. Old white man is a free space. You put that on the table, you're playing fair at this point. And I hate to say it, and I know it sounds bad, but Obama was an anomaly. He was the safest black person ever to white people. And they thought they were ready for that. And even with that, they were like, we talk about the white lash. I think the white lash is not just against Obama. I think it's against anything that's not old white male. Hillary did a little better just because she can check one of the boxes. Obama can check one of the boxes. Kamala checked none of the boxes. So I think we got to get back to playing old racist politics. We got to even the playing field and get America what they're used to, even if they say they're not. I think you even the playing field. And I hate to say it, I would love for a black woman or another black man or another minority, homosexual black person. Like I want to see representation and different people getting a chance to lead, but apparently the world doesn't. Not the world, the U.S. doesn't. And so until we can do that, we're gonna keep failing. Look at all the reasons people shouldn't vote for Trump did not matter. None of those mattered. Does Biden have a right to have a gripe? Nah, he's old. Your time is like you just couldn't play. Like it's almost like you got bit.
Let's pause on that one. Let's pause on the gripe and let's go around on the what went wrong first. Let's talk
what
that
went
through.
wrong.
Yes,
I agree. Let's do that.
She's not an old white male.
Okay, all right.
Go, Razzie.
I agree with you on that. I was talking to Lenny earlier about this, and I made the comment that I don't think the Democrats are going to be the one to put a woman in the White House first. I really think it's the Republicans that's going to do that. Because Republicans are going to get that 46% regardless, and they can get a little bit of extra by it being a woman. You saw what happened with the Democrats. When they put a woman up, they lose votes, right? Because of the misogyny. They got people that's like, oh, no, I'm just not voting for a woman. Or they'll make all kind of excuses why. But to Brandon's point, they were always just looking for a reason not to vote for Kamala. And so they'll look for any reason they can, and then they'll shift over. And then there were those people that was just 100%, I'm not voting for a woman. So we lost a lot just based off of that. To your point, if it had been a white male candidate with Kamala's resume, this wouldn't have been a conversation. 100%, I think we would have been there. But what I think what went wrong in this, because first of all, I want to say Kamala ran a hell of a campaign. She checked all the boxes. She did what she was supposed to do from a campaign perspective from her. Now, the rest of the campaign, organizers on the ground, working with folks on the ground, that I don't know. I'm not that far into it to know. I hear some rumblings about Pennsylvania, and those folks kind of reached out and was like, yo, they sounded the alarm that they're not seeing the turnout or the excitement that you were seeing nationally. So maybe it was some stuff there. But what I'll say is what's going wrong with the Democratic Party right now is the big tent philosophy does not work. And it doesn't work because as soon as you say, I'm doing something specifically for Black people, then Hispanics or white people are mad and you start losing something there. And as soon as you say, I'm doing something specifically for Hispanics people, Black people like, what about us and everything? When you look at the Republican Party, again, like I said, they're 70, 80% homogenous, right? It's like white women and white men, and then they got a couple other folks too. And I think that whiteness supersedes any of the other things that you might think of. Hispanics and nationality. It supersedes whether I'm gay. I know gay people that voted for Trump, right? Like how do you be gay and vote for Trump? The folks that's mad about Gaza, right? When you talk about the Arab American Association endorsing Trump, I was like, have you not heard him talk about Israel and how he supports and does not care that he's killing folks in Gaza? Like he literally has said this, but y'all are going to endorse him over what Kamala and Joe Biden is. So it's their whiteness or their perception or their closest to whiteness kind of keeps them together no matter what. Whereas when you talk about the Democrats, it's everybody else. Yes, we have some white people there, right? And that'll get us 20%, 30%. But then that's why they always lean on, well, Black people got to carry us and we lost the Latino vote, so that's why we lost and this, that, and the other. It's because of that big tent philosophy and everybody is fighting against each other. It's not, as soon as you say this is for all of us, then people say, well, that's not good enough. You didn't say it was specifically for Black people. We talked about that a few times. So it's this give and take in this big tent philosophy. That's just to Ferg's point. I don't think it's working right now. I think the Democrats need to get a platform that is a little bit more popular and that's about what the popular vote wants. When you think about it, Kamala lost the popular vote. The Democrats haven't lost the popular vote in I don't know how many years. So that lets you know that it's just over 20 years they haven't lost the popular vote. So at this point, you know that your platform is probably way too left. And so they need to get a better platform that's not as left, but still keeps us moving, being progressive. But I don't know how to fix this and get a more homogenous platform.
Do you think her platform really, could she have had a platform? I think the more I think about it, that's why it goes back to, like, I feel like she was doomed from the start. This is to me a perfect example, and I hate making it about race, but the numbers show it's about race. It's when they say you got to be 10 times as good. Mm-hmm. Like, this to me seems like that. It's like you have to run the perfect campaign, check all the boxes. This dude sabotaged himself. I mean, think of all the things. He's a convicted felon. Like, look at all the things that are against this guy. And it's like he won the majority vote. We're not talking about a qualified candidate. We're talking about his qualifications is I'm a white, conservative, heterosexual male. Put that on
does not care about
Put that on his platform.
the other part about Trump is Trump doesn't care about the politics of his actions, right? Like he will overturn Roe v. Wade. No other Republican was going to do that because they knew that it was going to be a firestorm and they were going to end up with a 2022 and all of that. Like I think they liked talking about it, but they didn't want to ever overturn or fix Roe v. Wade. And so, you know, they talk about the whole, they caught, what is it? The dog caught the car after chasing it. Like I don't think they really wanted to really do that. Trump is the one that he is not political savvy enough to understand that it's about kicking the can down the road. It's about talking about it, Donald. It's not about actually delivering it. Now, because now we don't have anything to do with the conservatives to hold them to us because we've already done that now. So what's going to end up happening is those evangelicals are going to have to find something else to latch on to, kind of like what black men have started doing. You see this kind of trickling off of black men. I think some evangelicals are going to trickle off after this because they don't have that anymore. I don't know how much because there's still LGBTQ rights and all the other stuff that they can latch on to. There's going to be something else that they latch on to. But again,
do they like old heterosexual white men? Are you pro heterosexual white men? That's all that matters.
Well, there's a lot to unpack here. I'll start with what Ferg said. There is a lot of truth in what you said, but I also find myself disagreeing with some of the stuff you said. Yes, Obama was an anomaly, but you say that Kamala was so much more qualified than Trump, but the argument could be made that McCain was way more qualified than Obama, at least politically. But like you say, he was an anomaly. I would say that Trump is also, because it's not about him just being a white male. I think any other white male who did everything he's done and behaved every way he's behaved wouldn't be able to get away with what he's gotten away politically. We just saw the governor, the black guy for North Carolina. They rejected him. Nobody else has been able to pull off Trump but Trump. So I can't automatically go to him being a white male and her being a woman of color. Now, yes, there is some truth in that, but kind of what Razi said in his answer, Vice President Harris is a victim of her own party in a way. So when you say what went wrong, she's a victim of the Democratic Party, and she's a victim of her campaign not preparing her properly. I think she campaigned hard, and she definitely didn't lose it for lack of effort, but she lost it for lack of preparedness. The Democratic Party, I think to a lot of people, has gone too left. And maybe they truthfully haven't gone too left, but they've allowed themselves to be painted that way.
Yep.
So now you have the Republican Party being able to paint them. They had people really thinking that kids are getting sex changes at school. And like, you can't even give a kid an aspirin without a doctor's note at school, but you got grown people thinking that kids are getting sex changes at school now, and hundreds of boys are now on hundreds of girls' teams and stuff. And the Democrats never offered like this visceral pushback on that and just come out and say how they allowed themselves. I mentioned on this show, or at least in our conversation, how Kamala Harris wasn't even able to tell you what's her cutoff line for an abortion. And I think Razi said, well, it's Roe v. Wade. That's not an answer. That's not an answer to a regular American. They want to hear you say 6 months, that's it. 7 months, that's it. 8, 9. She couldn't even say 9 months. So things like that allow them to be painted so far left. And then with her not being prepared, you cannot take your ass on The View running as the candidate for change. And when asked, what would you do different from Biden? Sit there and say nothing.
Right.
Come on, dog. You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't sit there. Immigration, like, I don't know what political operatives they have, but immigration Republicans did a good job of making that the forefront of the conversation. And yes, the administration did try to do something about it. And Trump did kill the bill in 2024. But what was your administration doing in 2021, 2022, 2023? She didn't have an answer for that. She kept going back to, well, he killed the bill. Yeah, we know he killed the bill this year, but what about the other 3 years? Why don't you have an answer for that? She's a victim of the fact that this country doesn't know how inflation works. Inflation was worldwide. We got up to 9% inflation. This administration has brought it down to below 3%. We've outpaced nearly every country in the world. But did the Democrats do a thorough job of explaining that? No. They just kept saying, well, the economy is better. We know you're still hurting, but the economy is better. All people remember is how they felt the majority of your administration. Now, I don't even know if she could have explained that away, but I know the attempts were not made, and she was a victim of it. And she was a victim of immigration, which she didn't have a good answer to. And finally, I have to ask, and this goes to the party, not to her, but are you listening to people? Because I hear it in some of your answers, and I've heard it on political shows that I've watched today. And people are automatically going to, well, the country is racist. Okay. All right. I'll give you that. There is racism in this country. But we are talking about the same country that elected a black man twice. So are all those people now racist? Or did they all die off? Or are we not listening? And I say we, the Democratic Party, are you not listening to the real concerns that some of these people have, to where they're so fed up that they'll put up with somebody like Trump, who can mimic giving a blowjob to a microphone, who can have 34 felonies, who can have, what is it, wife number 3 now, who can do all these incredible, outrageous things, but he ain't for letting boys play on girls' teams. He ain't for changing the sex of 6-year-olds. He ain't for having 9-month abortions. He ain't for giving money to all these other countries. He ain't for having all these immigrants come in here and jack up the crime and take our jobs and things like that. Are they listening, or are they just saying, okay, those people are just racist, we'll move on? Gotta listen. Maybe some of those people are racist, but they would be willing to vote for you if you would hear them out on some of their issues. Those are some of the things I think went wrong.
Definitely. I racism is like an underlying undercurrent there. It's not the reason they lost. Racism is not the reason they lost. It's more sexism than racism, probably, if you really think about it. And not even the sexism. And that's why I say just misogyny in general. It's that. But it was a perfect storm. To your point, Buff. It was all of that, right? It was the immigration. It was people worried about the economy. It was worried about our foreign wars and everything like that. And can we stop Israel, right? Can we stop Putin from going into Ukraine? And I've made the case about how, right now what we're doing is we're fighting proxy wars, and our biggest enemies, Iran and Russia, are fighting right now, taking up money, taking up resources, taking up stuff with very little money, that infusion from us. It's actually not a bad thing what they're doing in Ukraine and in Israel. But geopolitically, it makes sense. But how do you sell that to the people, right? How do you tell them that, yeah, we're sending them our old bombs and everything? And guess what? Now we have to replenish our stockpiles with new bombs. And guess where we make those bombs? Here in America. So it's creating jobs. The money isn't going over there, just going over there willy-nilly. It's like all of that. There's things that they could have said to explain that.
Yes.
That just they did not do. And I think that's where I do think Kamala,
and that's not on her. That's on the party.
That's on the party, but it's a little bit on her too, because Kamala, the reason why she lost the primaries was because she was too scripted. Remember how we was talking about, we didn't feel like it was the real her. You never could feel like you were getting the real her. She started opening up towards the end of the campaign here. I even kind of called that out and talked about that. But she was really, she stuck to the script and she wasn't deviating from it. So to your point about the party and her, whoever was handling the campaign was giving her these talking points that she was trying to stick to, and they just weren't landing. And I don't know if they thought they were because of the polls. And that's probably what happened. They were like, oh, these are working because the polls are going up. It's moving. We're within 1 or 2, points. And it's just, man, a lot went wrong.
They rely heavily on Roe v. Wade, and I know that helped them out in the midterms. But sometimes issues have an expiration date. And I'm not saying that people no longer care about abortion and women's rights, but 2 mistakes on the whole women's right thing. I felt like at sometimes that was the only thing she was pushing. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, okay, that's important, but give them a little more.
Economy, immigration. Yeah. Like, yeah.
She kept it on abortion. That's why I loved Michelle Obama's speech so much, because Roe v. Wade, it wasn't just about women's abortion. It was about their health care and everything surrounding it. And she really broke it down, how it affects women. People think Roe v. Wade, there are some people that just thinking a bunch of immature, irresponsible women having random sex and getting pregnant. So why should my tax dollars bail her out to get an abortion? They could have framed it differently. But Ferg's about to move to Biden's gripe next. Does he have a legit reason to have a gripe?
No, he's old. And I mean that, like, your time in the sun, he showed, it's also like watching a football player or a boxer, since you like boxing. Even Ali, at a certain point, you can tell he wasn't Ali. It's time to retire. He was punch drunk, right? Like, he couldn't perform on the level he needed to perform. He had one shot at Trump and completely showed what we were going to get. Now, if he was younger or more vibrant, then yes, you keep him in the game. But he couldn't have survived this. I think it's easy to say, well, I could have done this. Yeah, you probably would have got even worse. The only thing he had in his favor was he was what? Heterosexual white man. That's it. But I mean, he couldn't keep up with Trump. He couldn't really campaign. He didn't have much going for him. And all the stuff that Trump was attacking Kamala about, which were also Biden's burden. Mm-hmm. I don't think he could have been able to respond to any of that either. Like, he didn't have an answer. Like, Kamala could at least kind of play the goat. Kamala could at least say, hey, I'm kind of the vice president. I only had so much say. I was here to back up Biden and his decisions and trust in his leadership and make the best out of the decisions he made. Did I agree with all of them? No. But do you agree with a man who's been married? Who agrees with everything somebody does? Right? But as a leader, like I do in my household, and I hope the country will do, they will have faith in me and follow the lead, and we make the best of the situation. We learn from our mistakes and we adjust. That's it, Biden couldn't say that. Why didn't you do this? That question you asked about immigration. Why didn't you do that 3 years ago? You were the president, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You had the final say on this, right? Yeah. There's nothing Biden could have said. Even though he was doing a pretty good job.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, for like the whole, at least Kamala had a little bit of an out to say, I'm the vice president. I don't make the final call on this stuff. That's not my policies, right? She had a little bit of an out. Biden didn't have any of that. And he didn't have that fight in him anymore. I don't think he has a gripe. I think the Democrats have a gripe with him more than anything else. I think he waited too late to get out. I think he should, we talked about this, right? He should have never ran for a second term. It should have been a one term. And then he even talks about it he said that he had planned on it being a one-term presidency and him passing it off until Trump came, and he felt like he was the only one that could beat Trump there. I don't know if that's hubris. I don't know if that's just him like really like talking through the polls with everybody and seeing that there was nobody out there that could just beat Trump. there. I don't know, but what I know is he should have never went for a second term. I think that would have given us or the Democrats a chance for primaries. It would have given a chance for folks to kind of vet what's working and not, get their lines down, introduce themselves to everybody. I mean, Kamala tried to do a full campaign and spin a campaign up in 150 days. Like, that's crazy when you think about it. Usually you have over a year and a half on that. You're doing exploratory 2 years out, right? Like, it's you have your campaign together by the time you're really even going through the primaries. So
people don't put weddings together that fast.
Right. So, you know, she was kind of set up for failure in that. And that's the gripe I have with, you know, Biden is that conversation should have been had. The party should have had that with them. So maybe that's what, you know, the gripe that he can have is that y'all should have came at me like this before when we announced that, hey, I'm not going to do a second term. Y'all should have came at me earlier than that. Did you be like, no, Joe, we're putting somebody else up. So you need to go ahead and make this, figure out how your exit strategy and how you want to sell this, but somebody else is going up. We're not putting you up. I think that should have happened. So that maybe is what the gripe that he can have.
You damn right Biden should have a gripe. You damn right he should have a gripe. And I hope he made a couple of phone calls and cut some people out. He should have a gripe for two reasons. One, he wanted to run in 2016, but they felt like it was Hillary's turn. And how'd that work out? Mm-hmm. He probably would have won. And we probably would already be rid of Trump. So that's one. Two, how they did it. So this is the man that rescued your party from this man in the first place in 2020. And yes, I've said from day one that he should I kept using James A. Polk. He should pull a James A. Polk, or was it James K. Polk? Anyway, President Polk, who famously said, look, one term and I'm out. That's all I want. I just want one term. I said he should pull a Polk, do one term and roll out. And like you said, Rozzy, he did say he was going to do that at one time. But okay, he changed his mind. He got the job. He found out he liked it a little more than he thought right. And wanted to stay a little longer. Now, I think even though I vehemently felt like he should have been a one-term president, he earned that right. And Ferg used boxing earlier. A lot of boxers want to, as they call it, go out on their shield. They don't want you to stop the fight or anything like that. They want to go out on their shield. If they get knocked out, damn it, they get knocked out. But don't throw in the towel on me because you're feeling sorry for me. So he earned that right. And it was the way they did it. It was so disrespectful how they did it, leaking it to the press. And you can say, well, that was the only way to get him out. Well, if that's the only way to get him out, you let that man keep his dignity and let him see for himself. Hey, we think you're going to lose, but you know what? You won last time. You earned this right, whatever. Go for it. You lose, now you know. But the way they did it was disrespectful to him. And so, yes, he has a gripe.
Do you think they would have done that if that was anybody but Trump?
What, go behind his back and stuff like that?
Like I think the stakes were so high. I mean, you made a damn good point. Like, he did save the party. He did earn the right under normal circumstances. I feel like we're not playing normal politics. These last couple elections have not. Well, actually, this is the norm, new norm, right? You know, right. It's, man, we gotta get somebody to get Trump out of here, and you don't have, you know. You get knocked out is different than you get knocked out and you're taking us all down with us.
I think it's two sides of the same coin, because it's risky allowing him to run, but it's also like when they started leaking it to the press, like okay, if you're gonna backstab him, I think, was it Rozzy? They should have did it much sooner.
Right.
They literally waited till after the debate, and if you're gonna be more upfront about it. How many times were they asked on these Sunday talk shows in political talk shows. Hey, we've been seeing Biden in public. He don't really look all there. What do you think? Oh, he's sharp as a tick. I was just in a meeting with him, and he ran circles around all these other world leaders. They lied. That was their time to say, you know, he has his moments. You know, we'll see what happens. They full out lied. So you lied, and then when the world saw him in that debate, now you want to get scared. So now it's a huge risk to do what they did, and it turned out that it, like you said, it was only 150 days for her. So it was they had to have known it's a huge risk now to leak this to the press and get him out of there. Because whoever we pick, no matter how great the candidate is, this is a big ask to go against a man who's essentially been running for president for 9 years now. Mm-hmm. So that's a hell of a head start. So
that not just been running for president for 9 years. He's an ex-president. Like, you got to think, he's an ex-president.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, that too. Yeah, and
it's on a start campaign.
Look, Biden been looking old from day one.
Mm-hmm.
I remember when he was running in 2020 during the debates. I was like, Joe, just get through these debates, bro. Just get through these debates. Like I wanted him to be hidden as much as possible because I didn't want the public to see what we wound up seeing back in July at the debate against Trump.
Mm-hmm.
So he's always looked old. And so as soon as he got elected and sworn in and, you know, I would say probably the year of the midterms, they should have been like, I see exactly what you see, but that's my president and I'm going to support him. But they flat out lied.
But so he has have to? Didn't they? Cause like,
no, they didn't have to lie. They have to lie. You gotta lie.
Because if he never would have dropped off, I mean, how does he win when his own party's like, yeah, this nigga's not fit? Like, you almost gotta fake it till you make it.
That's what he's saying. That pressure would have been on for him to not run for that second term because he didn't announce till after the midterms that he was gonna run for his second term. So I think, like to Buff's point, if they had right around that would have been perfect time. Right after he come out and say, I'm not running, let's start this primary season up, you know, let's get everybody there. Because they would have been able to pick the strongest person. Because that's what the primary does, right? It's who has the most support in the party. So then you know who's going to be your strongest opponent against the opposition, or candidate against the opposition. So they did a disservice. Biden definitely has a gripe with that, you know, they didn't call him out. They didn't force him earlier, or that they forced him at all. And because, I mean, hell, he could have lost. Like, so he has a legitimate gripe. It's like, I could have been here and lost.
But we all, like, think about it. Last week, when you asked that question, what do you think the outcomes were? 2 out of 3 of us said that she was going to win. When we asked that question about Biden, we all knew he was going to lose. Right? You do, especially after the debate.
But that question was asked in 2016, and we all said, well, I don't want to revise history, but I think everybody all said Hillary was going to win. And remember Brandon,
and Brandon even called Kamala here, right? Like, and that's what he does for a living.
He said she win easily.
Yeah. So it's a surprise, and I think most pundits, even the pollsters are surprised at this one. You know, we talked about them trying to crack that nut of figuring out that silent. Trump
they
vote.
Actually tried to adjust their polling. They actually tried to adjust it. Yeah.
I mean, you guys brought up some good points, I think, especially with when the midterms, and even if it wasn't Kamala allowing the best candidate, we were just kind of like, here you go, right? This is it. You got 4.5 months to figure it out. May the odds be in your favor.
Because I can tell you, more than likely, Kamala wouldn't have won the primary.
That is
just being honest, she wouldn't have won it. To your point about the whole white male, about all of that, like she wouldn't have won the primary. She's not charismatic enough to be an Obama where she's going to blow all these people out. She would have gotten drowned out in the debates when you're sitting there with a stage of, 17 people to start with and going down to 10 and going down to 5. She probably, I don't know if she would have made it to the top 5, truthfully. Kind of like what Pence did when did he run at one point?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
he ran. That's so disrespectful.
Yeah.
Yes, he ran. Yeah, he said, did he run?
Yeah. I mean, that's a great point. I mean, and that's why I was saying it's not just about a race. It's just the fact that, like, it's familiarity with what's been working, thus far. And Obama, like I said, he's an anomaly for one, because dude is just charismatic. Like, he just has a way with words.
I'm in more awe of what he pulled off.
Yeah.
After looking at this election,
and even Hillary's election. And it's like, he was just, he got the world excited. He got the world excited of the possibilities.
Yeah,
and the white lash that came from that, we're still feeling it. And then, like I said, I think we want to operate in this world the way the world should be, or the way the country should be, versus like, hey, we're familiar with old white men have been raping and pillaging the country since the beginning, and we're used to that. We're cool with that. Like, it is what it is. We have our problems. I love America as a whole, the favorite country, but at the end of the day, we're used to certain things, and you keep trying to get us away from that. And we've said it, like even what you said with Ali, for a lot of these people who say, how do you vote against your own self-interest? It's not really going to affect them.
Mm-hmm.
Do we have time for the what's next?
Let's do it. Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Okay. So, and with that question, it don't necessarily have to be what you think the Democratic Party will do next. You can actually say what you think they should do next. So you can kind of take it either way with that on the party. So what's next for the Democratic Party?
I'll start because I kind of alluded to it earlier in my answers, right? Is I think they need to relook at their platform. I think the platform needs to get more centrist. You even said it, Buff, right? They're too far left. They've gone too far, or they're framed too far left. I don't think they're too far left, truthfully. I think they're framed too far left.
Right.
And
but they allow themselves to be framed. Yeah.
So their messaging needs to get better. So maybe it's not necessarily the platform needs to shift. The messaging around their platform needs to shift and get better. But because they've been framed as this hyper left wing, I think what they need to do is they need to shift that platform up a little bit so that they're not even running on the same stuff, to be able to kind of get away from that and reframe themselves. That's one. I talked about that big tent mentality. And the like identity politics. Yeah. With the identity politics, I think they have it wrong. You see that with Hispanics a lot, right? Like what they think Hispanics want really isn't what Hispanics want. They need to go, to your point, Buff, and listen to what people really, really want and what's important to them, and build a platform around that instead of this aspirational platform, which I'm all for it. I'm all for liberalism and moving them forward and saying, hey, correcting injustices and all of that stuff. But I think they need to focus on the things that really, really matter to people, and make a case and educate folks. I think they need to focus on local a good bit. They need to win back some states, get some gerrymandering working so that they can get into these borders of education and those types of things, these governorships, because they lost a lot of governorships this cycle too. So it wasn't just they lost the House, they lost the Senate, they lost the governorships, they lost the presidency. It's like it was a red wave this time.
And so the House?
Not yet.
Oh, they haven't yet? I thought they called it this morning. So
well, it's not official, but they're tracking to lose it.
Yeah. So, but even with that, man, it's to the point where they have to relook at that and say, what is this platform and why is it not resonating with people? Because it is not resonating with the popular, because when you lose the popular vote, that means that your platform doesn't resonate with the majority of people in America, or at least the majority of voters. Because again, everybody's not going to vote. Who are the people that vote? And I think the next thing for what's next is they got to figure out a way to mobilize their folks and get them out, even when they're not super excited. Because as you see, Trump got the exact same votes as he got last time, but Kamala didn't get the exact same as Joe Biden did last time. So that lets you know that there is a get out to vote effort. There's an enthusiasm issue, which is weird because there was a whole lot of enthusiasm, but I think it was overshadowing those margins. They're so thin, right? 1%, 2% of the population. That's all it takes, because we're only winning, 51 to 50 or 49. So, it's very thin margins that you're talking about. So I think while there was a lot of enthusiasm, there's plenty of people at her rallies and everything like that. That's only so many people you can fit in there. 70,000 people is not going to get you elected. You got to be able to get the entire state. And I think that's definitely what happened there. She underperformed in those rural areas across the map. And when you do that, it tic-tac the entire way. And then you underperform in your areas, your counties. It's not going to work. So they have to rethink all of it, man.
What you got for it?
Razi said most of the stuff I was going to say. The only thing I would add is going back to, I guess, where I started, they're going to have to find a strong candidate. We haven't had a strong candidate. And the reason they haven't been able to mobilize people is Obama was the last strong candidate. Trump was the last strong candidate the U.S. had. The thing about Trump is Trump got people excited, or gets people excited, whether right or wrong. He has a way to galvanize people and get them excited. Obama, the closest thing I can compare it to is being Obama supporter that first campaign and really just wanting to do whatever I could to help him, because I was just so excited about who he was and what he brought to the table. And I think we've been underwhelmed as Democrats for the last couple of election cycles, including this one. I think the beauty of Kamala, and nothing against Biden again, was she wasn't Biden and she gave people a little hope. We tried to find the silver lining in that. But Razi, you even said she probably wouldn't have won the primaries and probably wouldn't have been the top 5. That's who was our presidential nominee.
Yep.
Biden, well, you said Biden probably would have ran in 2016. But Democrats played politics and gave Hillary the nod, right? Yeah. Versus saying, hey, how do we win back this? How do we get this? Who can
just thinking back, just about that, what was that? Brandon talked about that. People love Joe. Like Uncle Joe, him with the glasses, driving in a Corvette. Like, think about 2016 Joe Biden. Like, man, coming off of Obama and everything, Joe Biden would have killed that election. So again, I don't know how they kind of picked him. Like, he didn't even run, right?
Liberal. Like, we were trying to get what they wanted.
It was Bo, though, right? Like, it was that, right? Like, he had just lost Bo, and
it was Bo, but also the Clinton family is a power family within the party.
Yeah.
You're talking about a 2-time president.
Probably one of the most popular Democratic presidents in our recent one.
Yeah. Former first lady, former senator, former secretary of state. She was still, and I think the party felt like they owed it to her because it was her turn in 2008. Yeah. And Obama didn't wait in line. He skipped the line.
Yep.
And so they wanted to give her their chance because, it's been reported that the Clintons Hillary in particular can have like a enemies list, so to speak, a get back list within the party of those who didn't support her. So I think they was trying to get back in her good graces, but you know, it cost them.
I think it starts with a strong candidate. I think you have to, you know, I don't know the last time, you know, even with Clinton, we were trying to talk ourselves into believing that she was the best candidate, right? Or we tried to, or she had, you know, and we believed that and it was so, we underestimated what Trump could do. I think we just assumed, based off of just the exact same things you said, Byron, that she was going to get the nod and she was going to get the win. We could not fathom the excitement that Trump got from his supporters. And that's been growing over the last 10 years now, right?
Yeah. And what made her so flawed too, Ferg, is that tape. And like, this was before Trump was at, because he's got all 6 Infinity Stones now. Mm-hmm. But this was back when maybe he had 1 Infinity Stone. When that Access Hollywood tape came out, that should have ended him, and it probably could have ended him. But Hillary could not fully capitalize on that moment because of her husband,
right,
and his allegations and everything he went through and the things she said in defense of him. So she kind of just had to kind of lay back and hope the public would say, "Oh, okay, we're not gonna vote for him." And that story, y'all know our attention spans is like that. So whenever that tape came out, I remember by the news cycle on Monday, it had already kind of like
what tape
lost some steam. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she wasn't able to capitalize. That's how flawed she was. She had a wide open touchdown and couldn't even haul it in.
Yeah, I just think they have to get I agree with everything Raji said. We have to restructure what our talking points on and all that. But I think we have to find a candidate, and I don't know who that is. And we need to go find a white male candidate that the country can get behind. Because don't go, you know, like, well, we're going to try Michelle. It's a gamble. Mm-hmm. But I still think it's that the country wants what they want. And we keep trying to like force a country to be more progressive than they really are. And they keep showing this. Like, look, we gave you a little nigga. Now y'all throwing a woman in there. Now y'all throwing a black woman in there. Now y'all gonna try to throw another black woman or his. Like, no, this is what we want. I don't care about this. A lot of stuff we talk about.
I don't know if it. I don't know. No. I'm just saying. I don't know if it has to be a white male. I just think, to your point about a good candidate, I think it needs to be somebody charismatic. You think about Joe. Joe is charismatic as hell. Like, you know, especially when you talk about 2016 or 2020 Joe. Like the one-liners and the zingers coming back and everything. Joe, the scrappy kid from Scranton, was a charismatic guy. Like, and so people can get behind him. You talk about who they put, Kamala and Hillary, they weren't charismatic. Like, that's the thing. Kamala is motherly and everything, but she has to come off and try to toe that line. And that's why I think that I talk about I don't think a woman is just the America's not ready for it, because the personalities have to be different. A charismatic woman is very different than a charismatic man, right? Like she has to toe that line of being hard and being seen as a leader and that and stuff. So, but I don't know if it has to be, well, I just want to say, I don't know if it has to be a white male. I do think it has to be a man though. But they just have to be charismatic enough to get over that hump. Twice as good to get half as much, right? So if it is a black person, they're going to have to be Obama level charismatic to do that. Yeah. If it's an Indian or something like that. Think about everything
you're saying. We said he's an anomaly. He has to be the most charismatic Hispanic man ever. He has to be the most charismatic Indian man ever. Joe is charismatic. He's not the most charismatic president. Like, right. What I'm saying is, you get a mediocre, charismatic white male, and you put him against the most charismatic, insert minority here, that's even playing ground, starting off.
Yep.
Like what I mean is you got to do so. We keep digging ourselves in a hole by trying to play this game with somebody who they have all the qualifications. They can do the job well. It's just when it comes to the uneducated voters who do not care about the platform, do not care about what's in it for them, who are going to vote against their own self-interest, who look at charismatic, but you know what's very charismatic? Looking like every other president in the world. I'm used to that. So
This episode is brought to you by PDS Debt. Struggling with credit cards, personal loans, medical bills, or collections? It's time to stop worrying about that high-interest debt you've got piling up. PDS Debt can help you start saving money immediately. Their platform can analyze your unique situation and create a plan to get you out of debt. There's no minimum credit score required, and it takes 30 seconds to get your results. With PDS Debt, you'll take back control of your finances. Get a free debt analysis in just 30 seconds at pdsdebt.com/Spotify.
At Rocket, we believe everyone deserves their shot at the American dream. So if you're feeling locked out of home ownership, we're here to give you back the keys. We're opening doors, breaking down walls, and doing everything we can to turn renters into owners. And we're not going to stop until we help everyone home. To find out more, visit Rocket.com. Rocket, own the dream.
Like Rozzy and for you guys both hit pretty much on the messaging. So I just think I always say this about the Democratic Party. They need their own version of Frank Luntz. And Frank Luntz, for many years, was the conservative guy who taught them how to frame their policies. He has a book called Words That Work. And, he conducted study groups and just the right words make things like I want to say he's one of the ones that came up with death tax, like the death tax that Democrats would propose, like put death on it. And that just makes it sound bad. Like he did stuff like that. They need someone like that can help them with their messaging.
we do the exact opposite. Defund the police. You don't even have to have the right words.
Yes.
Just stop saying the wrong words.
Yes. Defund the police. They need to, it's been shameful what they've allowed to happen in Florida. They've allowed Republicans. It's red now. It's a red state, and it wasn't always there. Obama won that state twice, but it's like the Democrats have just conceded Florida, and they haven't put in the groundwork. Like just listening to, I follow, because I go to Miami a lot. I follow a lot of local politicians and activists down there, and they have been complaining. This is before Trump, was a juggernaut. They were saying, man, Democrats are not putting in the effort and the work in Florida, and they're losing ground. And like you said, Rozzy, and like I said, even they're not listening to the Latinos there. They just assuming they want one thing, but they're not going out there and talking to them and seeing exactly what they want. They need to try to reclaim Florida, put in the groundwork there, put in the groundwork in Ohio. It wasn't that long ago. It was both parties fought for Ohio. Now we've just conceded Ohio. Like we ain't gonna worry about it no more. Mm-hmm. Man, you need to get back in there and fight for Ohio. Ohio is right next to. It's up there with Michigan and Wisconsin and Indiana. Like, fight for that state. And I know you lost Georgia this time, but you won it last time. You have 2 Democratic senators there. Put that Stacey Abrams type of groundwork in Georgia permanently. You want to run the score up in the counties that surround Atlanta. You want to run the score up as much as possible and just try to lessen the turnout for the Republicans in the rural parts of Georgia. And that can become a genuine swing state, because when Biden won Georgia in 2020, that was a surprise to me. I was like, damn, he got Georgia? So that's in play now. And all the other swing states too, continue the ground game. Texas, I know the Democrats have a love affair for trying to take Texas away. But don't just wait on the national elections. Like if that's your dream, you need to do it. You need to start now. And just this goes back to the messaging, but just have a relatable message. That's the same thing as better messaging, but just be more relatable. But the main thing I want to say is this. Out of everything the three of us have said, I'm going to say this. If they haven't already started planning today,
they're behind.
They've already lost ground. Mm-hmm. Because when Obama won in 2008, and you had political analysts, serious, legitimate political analysts, pontificating if this was the death of the Republican Party. Is this the end of will they ever recover for that? So this was like when they were supposed to be so down and out. I watched this documentary on PBS, the Republican parties, Newt Gingrich, a couple other senators, they went to this bar. That same night, they watching Obama at his, you know how they go and do the dances and stuff on inauguration and things like that. Beyonce singing that last and whatever like that. They're watching that. They're down. By the end of that night, they had already come up with a plan on how they was going to retake the power. And of course, he lost the midterms in 2010. He lost more seats in 2012, even though he got reelected. And here the Republican Party is now. So if they haven't started, I get mourning yesterday. Everybody was sad yesterday, or earlier today, rather. If they're not planning now, if they're not regrouping and strategizing, they've already lost ground.
Yep.
Because that's how soon you got to plan these things out. You got to put in the work now. And I thought of this last one too, by the way, when Ferg mentioned Michelle Obama. I need to see more from the Obamas. Not just during the conventions and presidential elections. I need to see more of them doing if they care about the party. I'm not saying they have to. Like, they did their 2 terms, they can go vacation in Hawaii. But if they truly care about the party and they're like the Clintons and want to see them succeed election after election, they're going to have to put in this work. They're going to have to go around in some of those swing states and areas and start talking to people. Now, that's where the listening part can come in at, Rick. You get a big turnout and start listening. Use their resources. The Democrats have resources. You just got to use them.
Well, I got one quick little question for you guys. And it kind of follows what you were saying about where, Obama got 2 terms. How long will we feel the impact of this new Republican revival? Is it a 4-year thing? Because, this can go on anywhere between 4 to 12 years, right?
That's a great question. That's a great question.
Because Trump can do the whole 4, Vance can take over for 8, and we can feel this, or, maybe Trump is old and, halfway, we get 2-3 years out of him and Vance picks up and, how long for the fix?
Well, first and foremost, we got to see if Trump even leaves office after 4 years. That may sound like a joke, but we got to see if he may decide to stay there until he dies. Like, we got to deal with that first. Yeah. And then after that, Putin. We have I don't know if it's correct to still call him Senator Vance or Vice President-elect Vance. Either way, you got to assume he's next in waiting. So to answer your question, though, I think it depends on what they implement, because you look at the Supreme Court, it's 6-3 conservative. Yeah, Justice Sotomayor, and I'm not wishing anything on her, but she's dealing with diabetes. She doesn't look great. It's no guarantee that she won't step down before he leaves office. You're possibly looking at a 7-2 Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So,
and I anticipate 2 of
I've already conceded that. That means.
Oh, I was going to say, I anticipate 2 of the Supreme Court justices stepping down. The conservative ones, the older ones,
Thomas.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas, yeah. And the other one. But yeah, that's like that's a push.
It's a push, but if you got to think he put somebody in that's 30 or whatever, that means that the next person's going to be in for another 20 years or something. So it makes it harder to flip it back when they replace these older ones with younger justices.
Rozzy, I don't think I'll see a liberal Supreme Court justice in my lifetime. A Supreme Court in my lifetime.
Yeah,
because you're talking about it like that's a lot of flipping. That first off, they got to win the elections to even do it.
Right.
And we're just talking about 4 to 12 years, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, you got to think, a liberal like you might. What are the chances of a clean sweep? Can they get 9?
Yeah, I mean, that's possible too. So, but it depends on what all they implement from Project 2025, like whether or not Trump sticks to that. Because if he does, you're talking about reshaping the federal government in a dramatic way. Also, our schools, the Department of Education, he, in his first term, wanted to nationalize education. And you look at Project 1776, he wants to implement those type of things within our school system. And then you look at if he really, and he said he's going to do it on day one, if he really imposes this deportation and you really start, you're either separating parents from kids, parents that may have came here legally, but kids were born here on United States soil, technically are United States citizens. So are you sending them all back? Can you do that? Or are you separating the parents from the kids? Like, I don't know how that's going to look, the manpower it would take. So you look at that. And then I know he said he's not going to do it, but we know how he flip-flops. Nationalize abortion, like a national abortion ban. So
yeah, especially with him getting the House and the Senate.
It could drastically change. And like Rozzy just said, with the House and Senate, there aren't a lot of guardrails for him because he learned from the first term. He's not going to have reasonable people in his cabinet this time. He's not going to have people that are saying, no, Mr. President, you can't do that. He's going to have people that agrees with him, does what he tells them to do, does what he tells them to do, or they're going to be out of there. You know what I mean? So it's I'm at this point, I'm hoping for the best. I'm hoping he doesn't implement some of the things that I think are terrible. And I'm always hopeful of any president that gets elected. I'm hopeful that he becomes reasonable, but I don't see it because we've waited for that for years. He is who he is, but I don't know if I answered your question or not, Bert. I don't even know, man.
Yeah, I was just throwing it out there because that was my biggest thing. Like, man, how deep are we in? We talked about we brought up the Supreme Court. At some point today, I kind of almost like had a panic attack. Like, man, if Trump is staying for 4, Vance can do another 8, and that's assuming we don't get another Republican after that. How long could these 3 Supreme Court justices last?
Yeah, and constitutionally, Trump can do another 8 because it just says you can't do 3 consecutive terms. So at this point, he can do 2 consecutive. So he can do 2 more if he wants. Now I doubt he will. I don't.
And if he feels like that to keep him out of jail, I most certainly can see him saying, "I'll do the 8."
Mm-hmm. And be what 88 or whatever at that point, like, or 86.
Yeah.
So yeah, at that point, nobody's putting him in jail at 86. So yeah, it's crazy, man. Lot to unpack. We got plenty more though. We can talk. We got next week.
All right, let's go ahead and close it on out.
Since the show is going long, I ain't got much, man. Again, just want to encourage the listeners to subscribe. And yeah, that's it. Just subscribe. 3 Brothers, No Sense. My questions took up the whole show, so I'll leave it for Rozzy and Ferd to close this out.
Just Contentville, what up? Just always want to throw that out there. And finally, I just want to say congrats to Shamari Figures. LaFleur alum, and he is the congressman-elect now. So awesome job. You should be seeing him up there, Buff. And so we'll see how everything works. But congrats to him.
Oh, my bad to brighten it up just a little bit. Got 2 black women that are going to be serving in the U.S. Senate.
Nice.
I don't think that's ever happened before at the same time.
No, it hasn't.
Yeah. So, yeah, just want to throw that out there. So.
On a brighter note, protect your peace bubble, get some rest, and give yourself a little time to grieve. But after that, start paying attention. I think I've asked our listeners, urge you guys to be more aware, not just of politics, but of everything that's going on, and make yourself take advantage of anything that comes your way as far as what comes out of this, but start working on your own personal gain, because we can't really depend on the government anytime soon. So start working on
individualism.
What you need to work on to make life better for your household and your people. So with that being said, 3 Brothers No Sense. Shout out to Vice President Kamala Harris for being the first, woman to do what you did, like that. You did we have to acknowledge that she made history, right? Mm-hmm. This was huge. Mm-hmm. And so as much as we want to moan and groan, I mean, she did the unthinkable by being the first vice president, and now the first primary president, female presidential nominee, black female presidential nominee to make it this far. So, I mean, congratulations, and hopefully one day we'll get there by being able to continue to progress and give a different view of the world. But 3 Brothers No Sense, what would say?
I was going to say, I hope she's not done. I know she lost. I'm not saying she got to run for office again, but I hope she continues to be active.
Yes, and be a part of the solution that
she fought a hell of a fight, bro.
Yep.
She fought a hell of a fight.
I mean, we're talking about 150 days, right? While backing Biden in his decisions and everything prior to that, there's never any dissension in the ranks. You never saw her speak out where she was at huffing and puffing in the background, at least as far as we could tell. So, once again, 3 Brothers No Sense, your favorite barbershop style podcast, 6 Rules of Podcast. Listen, like, share, subscribe, comment, most importantly, listen again. Talk to you next week.